Hello,
And welcome to Makers of Dev, episode number 93. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I hurt my neck sleeping the other day.
I'm sorry. You
And
hurt
it
your neck
still hurts.
sleeping.
I'm getting old. Yeah.
It wasn't even anything fun.
Nope.
All right.
Just sleeping. Yeah. I woke up and I couldn't look up for like 2 days. Like I couldn't tilt my head up. And
That's
it still kinda
serious.
hurts.
How did
Yeah,
you...
I know. I don't know. It was either a pillow problem or maybe a tossing and turning problem. I don't know. But I woke up and it hurt.
Are you involved in any extreme sports that might cause a neck injury? Yes, I sleep.
That's right.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. How are you doing today?
Today I'm doing okay, except I might be getting sick. I'm not. I don't know if you can. I know. I don't know if you can hear it, but I've been sort of feeling crappy, and it's either really bad allergies or I'm getting sick. So,
Gotcha.
I'm doing great all around.
Okay. You are gearing up to be a Googler. That's exciting.
Yes.
Getting your sickness out of the way before you start. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, hopefully. So I got my laptop, which I can't log into until they give me the credentials, which they do like the day before you start. But I have it, and that's kind of when it hit me that I'm about to start another job. Like this whole time has been it's the whole process has been so drawn out. Like it hasn't really like hit me at all. And then I got my laptop and I was like, oh, I'm going to be using this like 40 hours a week. I'm excited. Like we talked about, it's going to be, I think, a lot more meetings and less coding than I'm used to, but I'm sort of ready for a change in that direction. Maybe not permanently, but like for now. I like interacting with people and stuff, and that's going to be a large part of my job, and I like planning and stuff like that, and I'm sure there will be large company problems that I'm going to have to deal with that I'm not used to, but that's okay. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. I'm excited to hear about this through you, and I have fantasies about getting a full-time job sometimes, especially when I'm feeling more scarce about money, and I'm curious. I'm excited to hear about how it's going. Remind me again when you start.
In 1 week from today.
In 1 week. So next episode will be your first day?
If we record during the day, we probably will need to push it to later that week. Yeah. I imagine my first day will be kind of busy. I don't know exactly. Okay. I actually have no idea. They're actually really good about onboarding. They have like you might expect, they have an automated sort of onboarding process. And so the first day is going to be like a lot of normal company stuff, like set up your 401k and your healthcare and your stuff. So they've already sort of outlined all of that. And I imagine I will talk to my manager, and I imagine I will, I have no idea actually. So
cool.
We'll see.
I'd love to have an episode of what your first day was like. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm reminded also of the first day onboarding that I had for a summer internship project I was doing with the UT Southwestern, which is a local hospital. There was a research project I was doing. And I was really excited about the research project. It involved a lot of coding and genetics research and stuff. And they said, all right, before you can get started, you got to go through this training. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And I got there, and it wasn't anyone from the team. It was just the generic hospital people. And they sat me through this presentation that was like, it was like 4 hours long. And it was all like compliance of like HIPAA stuff, and just I remember sitting there. I had much less patience for that sort of thing back then. And I was just angry at bureaucracy in general. And at the end of it, I was just like seething. Just like I hated it. I was like, let me actually do the work. This is so dumb, because the presentation was going really slowly, and I didn't like it. And afterwards, they sent me a check in the mail for like paying me for my time that I was sitting through compliance. And I was like, all right, that's cool. But my hourly rate through compliance was like much less than the amount that they were paying me for the internship, because the internship, I think they were paying me like a chunk sum, and it was based on the work I was doing, versus this was based on some sort of an hourly rate. And so I got the check, and it was for something like it was like between $20 and $30. And I was so mad that I just never cashed the check. As just a little like, oh, I gotcha. You're gonna have some sort of an administrative hassle.
That's right. This is a line item on your books for the next 3 years.
It's never gonna balance.
Yeah.
And they resent me the check a few times, and then I got a notice that like they had put it in this pool of money. If you have unclaimed money, it like goes to the state, and the state has to keep track of how much money is left to you. But it was one of the more petty things I've done in my life. So I hope your first day is better than that.
Oh man, that's hilarious. I suspect it will be similar. I mean, like, except I get paid my full rate. So yeah, like I get paid. I'm sure I'm gonna have to sit through compliance things. I don't know what they are yet, but I'm sure I will. Yeah.
That'd be much nicer if I was getting paid better for it. Yeah, I could have tolerated it.
I had something similar where I had to. What was it? Oh, business insurance. I overpaid by 16 cents somehow. And so they sent me a check for 16 cents. And I didn't cash it because I just put it in a pile. And so they resent me the check 2 or 3 times before I finally cashed it.
The postage is like
I know.
So much more than that.
I know.
It's outrageous. Bureaucracies. I don't want to go too far down this tangent, but I'm rereading the graphic novel version of the book Sapiens. It talks about the rise of humanity and going from humans as a species and how we got an early foothold to how we've been able to create civilizations. And one of the advantages that it says humans have is that we're able to create these shared fictions that allow millions of us to cooperate at the same time. And because we have limited brains that are meant for dealing with tribes, once we get on the scale of millions of people, we have to have some sort of a system for keeping track of millions of people. Like how much money does each person owe to who and who has which assets? And early versions of that were clay tablets and things. And the bureaucracies necessary to keep track of the human data on the scale of a civilization creates these bureaucracies that are very difficult not to keep inefficient. That's so counter to how humans humans haven't evolved to remember obscene amounts of numbers, but that's the sort of thing that you need to be able to do to run an efficient society. So the existence of bureaucracies is necessary to being able to have a productive society. So it's a necessary evil. And would be nicer if it was more efficient, but efficiency is less important than just being able to have a tangible record of like what you're able to do. And then that trickles down to everything from, having compliance for being onboarded at Google or UT Southwestern to paying taxes and everything else. So
cool. Tangent to your tangent. I worked with UT Southwestern too, actually.
Wow.
My old company. Yeah. We, what did we do there? We installed temperature sensors somewhere. There. It was a pretty big install, I think. So yeah, cool.
Neat. Yeah. Alrighty. I know you've had kind of a weird time the last few weeks. So I don't know what else you want to talk about, but we could talk about Acornchat. What stuff is going on with Acornchat?
Yeah, so there is someone who wants to pay me, which is great. He is on a free trial. He is going to pay me, he said, and he's been like a great sort of advocate, I guess, for like small business and stuff. And he has asked for a couple of things to be changed, and so I've been working on those. One of the things is like basically a custom look to part of the widget, and so I went down this rabbit hole of like, okay, I'm going to do like custom themes. This is something I want to do anyway. Maybe even like allow people to write their own CSS if they want to. And I got down this huge rabbit hole of like, okay, now I'm going to have to support all of these multiple themes and custom CSS. And that means I have to change like how my divs work, and I have to make sure they have good IDs, and then I have to have documentation and stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, let's not do any of that. So instead, what I was going to do is I was just going to write a completely custom widget just for him to start. What I did instead was fix several CSS bugs. So this morning you saw me like I have Tailwind included in my main site, which is where I was testing the widget, and I think that has reset styles in it. It must, because when I tested it without that, a few things looked a little weird. So I basically spent the morning cleaning up those weird things. So basically reapplying a reset style to the widget.
Gotcha.
For the things I'm using. So that's as far as I got today. Hopefully by the end of this week, I will make a custom looking widget for this guy, and then he'll pay me, and I will have my second customer again. Because the one.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The graph of like your user growth would look very different.
Yep.
Got to be strategic about when you have those investor meetings.
That's right.
Cool. I'm curious how you're thinking about this project at a higher level. When for the next few weeks, I think after you get onboarded at Google, you're going to be wanting to just focus as much as you can on just Google. Have you had the conversation yet about if it's okay for you to be doing this at the same time as you're working at Google? How are you framing this project at a higher level?
Yeah, no, because I technically do have my manager's email, but you're like, until you get your credentials, you don't like have your Google email address. So I haven't talked to anyone there since I got hired, which, yeah. So in a week, I mean, it'll be a week plus however long I feel comfortable before I talk about, what I can work on, as a side project. So that means I want it to be totally self-sufficient and running, which means I want to clean up a few little holes and stuff, and make this guy happy before he pays for it. So that's what I want to do in this next week. Yeah, just so I can just set it and forget it, at least for the time being. Yeah.
Cool. What needs to happen for this to be fully automated?
I have a short list, which I can't find now because it's probably buried, but it's three or four things that I think are little like rough edges that I want to clean up, basically. And none of it. So like technically right now I could just set it and forget it. But there are a couple things based on the Google Ads experiment that we ran. Like I realized I need some more documentation when people first sign up from the Slack App Store, as an example, because they, I think we talked about this, right? They weren't making any sites. Like one person did, but you basically, if you don't visit the website before you sign up, you lose a lot of the like, what is this and what can you do with it, and documentation that you don't get if you just click sign up from the Slack App Store. So I want to take all that documentation, put it in the app. If you sign up directly from the Slack App Store, I think that will increase engagement directly after a sign up. So that's one of the things, for example. Yeah.
Cool. That's cool that you have this in a state where you can be just running it automated. Like you have a product where people can pay you. You have 2 marketing channels where users are trickling in.
I did turn off Google Ads, or I let it expire. Okay. Because we sort of talked about this, but yeah, I was getting a couple of clicks a day, and at least half of them were still about live chatting with random strangers, or, various misspellings of chat roulette or stuff like that. Okay. So yeah, I just turned that off.
This is one of the things I want to talk about today, but I just got back from the RailsSaaS conference that Andrew Culver of Bullet Train put on, and I had a few conversations with people who have apps in the App Store, 2 in the Heroku App Store actually, and they are struggling with the same sorts of problems that there is this one channel where when people buy through the App Store, that they're your customer, that they're willing to pay, and they have this stream of people coming in. But similar to the Slack App Store, the Heroku App Store doesn't allow ads, and the SEO that you can do is extremely limited. So they feel kind of stuck of like, well, it's listed and it's a reasonable listing and people are buying it, but a lot of the control is within the hands of the App Store, and they don't feel like there's a lot that they can do to be juicing it to be getting more traffic. So I'm curious. I feel like there's got to be some way around this. Like that, I liked the idea that people might be Googling for stuff outside the App Store. And I think this is a universal problem for anyone who has an app on an app store. Like I think it's probably the same sort of situation for the iOS App Store. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do for advertising outside of an app store if that's your main marketing channel.
I think SEO is going to be really big. Just like you started doing comparison pages, I think I should do dedicated comparison pages. I didn't tell you about this. I got emailed from a site which is basically dedicated to comparing different chat widget sites. Whatever chat widget, what do you call them? Applications. Yeah. However, they didn't say this in the initial email, but I'm 99.9% sure they're going to ask me a bunch of questions and then ask me to pay to be listed in their directory.
Yeah,
like
for
that
sure.
is exactly the feeling I got from them.
Yeah.
So I didn't even respond. But since sites like that exist, like you can write your own versions of all of the pages that they have, and then it's on your domain, and then you get SEO traffic. So I think that's the better way to go. And then it doesn't matter if people, are looking for chat roulette and click on your app and click on your thing then, because like they're going to bounce, but at least it didn't cost you any money. So yeah.
What a funny metric of knowing that you're in a mature market if you have people reaching out to you whose business model is that they charge people who have live chat apps to be listed in an ad. I'd be curious about that. Like if it's $100, I think that makes sense to be listed in it.
Yeah, but what if they have zero traffic? Like, I could see people creating those pages and just having zero traffic.
For sure. Yeah. Capterra, I think, is a actually legit market that does that sort of thing.
Yeah, so there's some actual ones. So Capterra, I think, is one. G2, I think that's one. There's a couple that are like for real ones. This one seemed dodgy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious about that. I think we also talked about potential marketing technique of reaching out to websites that don't currently have a live chat and then having a email campaign where you send out to them saying like, here's, a screenshot of what this could look like on your website. And if you're using Slack, this is perfect. And if not, do you have a like an email fallback? What happens if they don't have Slack? It's just for Slack.
Yeah, you need Slack. There is an email fallback, but you need to install it in Slack before you can use it. Yeah, it's basically just a Slack app.
I wonder if there's a clever way that you could figure out websites within a certain demographic that also have Slack. Like if you can find an internal link to a Slack thing just for their team. I'm not sure how you could find that. Or if there's some sort of like a public Slack listing where you could go from the public Slack listing to the website and then you filter on the website seeing if they're in your demographic.
Possibly, but I don't know. That would maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's I think what I would be most curious about next. But this is going in hibernation, so
yeah. The other thing I thought about doing was selling it, actually, because I'm getting a job. But I don't think I want to do that because I can't get very much money, I think, right now, since I have one paying customer currently.
But you do have outrageous growth.
I do. That's right.
Infinite growth, even with losing one customer.
Yeah, and also, like I talked about, as soon as I start at Google, like I'm going to be, my plan is to be fully dedicated full-time to Google, but I'm sure I will want a side project like immediately after I start. That's like just how my brain works, and so I think this could be that side project.
Yeah, I wouldn't make any big moves until you're settled at Google. That's a big enough change than also selling a company. You've gone through that. You know what that's like.
That's right.
Cool. I have 4 things I'd like to talk about. The first is that my consulting project for Ali Abdaal, specifically his part-time YouTuber academy, is done. I just finished it right before this podcast. I recorded a little video that they can send out in their internal team. And I can talk more about like what the actual project is, which is exciting. I worked on it for 34 hours and 6 minutes precisely, and I made $5,358, which works out to exactly $157.126 per hour, which is reasonable for that number of hours. I think I was projecting it was going to take like half that, but I did a good job and I'm happy with it. And I think I burned a lot of time thinking I was going to make it in Supabase and then switching back to Firebase. I'm a Firebase boy. I like Firebase. So part of that was like exploring Supabase and learning that was time I got paid for. So that's nice. And I only did about 2 out of scope hours after I finished the project. It became very clear that the high level data they were looking for, where you could see like for all of the students what their metrics are, was necessary to get the value out. So I did all of that today, and it only took about 2 hours, so that was nice. And now this opens the door for future work that, like, I think this could very easily turn into a CRM for them of managing student data and be plugging in additional data sources and see if there's any other correlation. So that feels pretty cool. Also, it's just nice to like, so I'll give some background on the project. Ali Abdaal is a very successful YouTuber. He has, I think, tens of millions of subscribers on YouTube, if not very high single digits of millions. And it's sort of a productivity education channel. He'll talk about different ways to like take notes on an iPad or different productivity systems or ways that he stays productive. And he offered in 2020 a class that you could take and learn how to be a YouTuber, and like everything from how to come up with ideas to how to technically film the videos to how to edit the videos to how to have a content calendar so that you're consistently doing this. And I took this in 2020 during COVID. There wasn't a lot else to do, and it was the best class I've ever taken. I think it was really well designed for the medium of being online. He did a lot of really clever things with like breakout groups in Zoom and having student mentors, and I think he presented the information in a very clear way. I loved it. Got me much more comfortable in understanding YouTube as a channel. Also just like seeing him work was so inspiring. Like he's working at a totally different level of abstraction. Like he has a team, and I would see him make these decisions and be like, oh, this thing needs to get done. Who's the person to do that? Okay, yeah. Can you please send an email to this person to make sure that they get this done? And that's, that takes 5 seconds of his time, and then this thing is going to get done. That's really cool. And he had assistants, and I think that was a big motivation for me that finally pushed me forward to have Rachel as a personal assistant. So yeah, it's cool working on this sort of thing and seeing someone operating this business at a totally different scale. That's a lot of fun. And yeah, I feel like I did a good job, and I enjoyed it, and built a relationship that I think is going to be valuable. Yeah, valuable. So that all feels good.
Cool. It's nice to hear you finally able to talk about it. So that's good. And we don't have to bleep the last episode.
Yes.
Yeah. I also think that doing a little extra work on contracts is great, as a great way to get return business, because like it's, you're making it clear that you're, willing to do what it takes to make the project successful, even if it is out of scope. So yeah, that's great. I mean, don't do it if it takes 30 extra hours of work, but right. 2 is fine. Also, that's a great consulting rate. Yeah, that's super solid. So sounds like a win all around. Yeah.
Feels good. Yeah, like, 2 hours at $157 an hour is like $300 and something. And that feels fine. And like, I think mistakes I could make here are, if I just say yes to everything, I wouldn't feel like I was defending my own boundaries, and then they wouldn't respect me as much. That when I give them a contract, they wouldn't be paying as much attention. Well, a Christian, does a bunch of work for free, so it doesn't matter. And then I would feel resentful that I was doing too much work for free. And I think I can go too far on the other side of that, of like, well, I can't change this button color because that wasn't defined in the contract, and that would be right. Pedantic and dumb. So yeah, I think there's a balance in there, and it feels like I maintain that balance. When they my main contact, Bob, at this company, sent me a message that was like, oh, it'd be nice to have search to be able to search students, and search in Firebase is unnecessarily complicated. It's stupid. So I messaged her back and was like, well, search is out of scope, but if this is the thing that you want, like, I can do that. And then it became clear that like the much more valuable thing was to do these extra graphs. So I said like, well, okay, so both of these are out of scope, so instead of search, I can do this graph. And that felt really good. And like, she was thankful that it was very clear that I was doing extra work, and I didn't feel stingy that I wasn't doing enough extra things, and felt like a very good balance. And now there's this opportunity for extra work that like I do think search would be really valuable to have in this app, and there is, if I could like bundle that together with enough other stuff to make a new contract, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, that sounds like a really healthy dynamic. A lot of people, I don't know if your contact is technical or not, but if they're non-technical, then it can be really, really difficult to know what's difficult or what's easy. And like you said, it happens to be really difficult in Firebase. In another technology, it might be very easy to do search instead of the graph. But the way you did it, it was way easier to do the graph. So yeah, I mean, that's great. It's like both of these are out of scope. I can do the graph really easily, so why don't I do that? And so yeah, that's good. That all sounds really good.
Yeah, feels good. That's the first thing. Second thing, I went to RailsSaaS, Andrew Culver's conference, sponsored by Bullet Train, which is his main company. It's a framework built on top of Ruby on Rails that is a SaaS in a box. It's Rails if Rails knew that you wanted to make a SaaS. So it has things like billing and subscriptions and teams and all this stuff built in, and a much better scaffolding that like does a lot of stuff for you. It's really nice. It's a really cool framework.
And it used to cost money, but it's free now, right?
Yeah, he open sourced it. And it used to be that the billing features cost money, but he announced at the conference that now the billing is also included. So nice. Yeah, you can build a SaaS with this. I think it's probably like the easiest, most straightforward way to build a software as a service that I'm currently aware of. It's a really, really nice framework and has a really good ecosystem. I have several takeaways from this conference. One of them, quickly, that I'll mention is that I started explaining what I do and what FileInbox is as that it's a tool to send and receive files. Usually I would have to explain like, oh, it's a tool to receive files. Like, you know, if you're an accountant, you would want to receive files from your client. People just got so confused. Like it took work for me to explain it. And explaining FileInbox as a tool that sends and receives files, people just got it. And they were like, oh, so I could use it to like send this file to this person. Like, what's it called? And I was like, oh, okay, I should have done this a long time ago. The sending files is really important. So that was cool. Another one of my takeaways is that I'm feeling really happy with my technology stack choice. I used to be on Rails. The first version of FileInbox, and the current legacy version is built on Ruby on Rails. That's how I cut my teeth on web technology stuff. And now I'm doing everything in React and on Next.js. And I like React, and I like more of the functional way of doing things. Most of the talks were very specific to Rails. It was like cool Rails technologies, or you know, cool ways to have a filter for records, or you know, a way to do a test suite, or that sort of thing. So a lot of it didn't really apply to me, and I got a lot of like email and brainstorming done. But when I would look up and like look at the code, I would say, oh, okay, here's the thing they're trying to do, and here's how they did it in Rails, and that's a really cool Rails way to do it, but there's a lot of magic going on there that I don't understand, and I don't like that style of coding anymore. I really like functional, like it's a little bit more verbose in some situations, it's a little less magical, but like knowing exactly what the inputs are and knowing exactly what the output is and knowing that there's not going to be any of these weird side effects. I prefer that style of coding. That I'm not saying that's the best way, but I felt assured in my choice that was a good way of coding. And then my last takeaway was like, I'm really impressed with Andrew Culver. Like this was his very first conference, I think. Definitely the first, you know, RailsSaaS conference, and the one that he's done for Bullet Train. And it went so smoothly. He had this whole production team that was filming it. You know, there were no major catastrophes that I saw of, like, you know, I don't know. So like you know, a sprinkler going off in the room or something. Yeah, it was nice. And he got like 100 people together, I think. A lot of them were really big names in Ruby. So it's cool that he has that network and that much of a reach and that much clout to be able to throw a conference like this. I thought it was really, really cool. And those are my 3 takeaways from the RailsSaaS conference.
That's cool. Yeah, I met Andrew at MicroConf this last year, and he struck me as a very impressive person. I had sat next to him at dinner, and he's very energetic, and he's also very hyped up and into Bullet Train and like his, you know, product and the way that they're doing things. Yeah, I don't know. He seems like the type of person who'd be put on a good conference, so that's great. I actually meant to go to RailsSaaS. I forgot it was happening, so I should have bought a ticket when MicroConf happened, but oh well.
I think you would have gotten a lot more out of it than me, so that's funny. I don't think I even told you that I was going.
No, you
and then I was like, you know, the
just
day
like, I'm
before,
going to LA, and I'm like, okay.
yeah. And then later you were like, how's LA? And also, why are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. There were a bunch of people that, because I've been out of the Ruby ecosystem for a long time, I was talking to other people who were there and asking like, oh, you know, how'd you find out about this? And, you know, what are you getting out of it? And a few people I talked to were like, oh my God, like, you know, this person from the Ruby community's here. And I'm just so excited because they have this library and I've been using it and they're this celebrity. And I didn't know a single one of them. So I think you would have been much more like impressed with the people that were there.
Yeah,
and they're all really cool. Like everyone I talked to was really nice, but you know, none of them were superstars. Like there were people in the React community that I think if I met, I'd be like, oh my God, you made this library. Like you're the dude who like made, you know, date FNS. Like that's incredible.
Right.
But yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's all for that.
Right.
Next thing is FileInbox. FileInbox. I have made no progress on in the last week, and most of that was because of the P2IA project, and then the rest of it was because of traveling, and I missed it. Day 2 into traveling, I was like, oh man, I have these cool ideas for things I could do with marketing. Like I miss this engine. Like, specifically what I really want to do for the rest of this week is like tune this engine of, can I have this source of traffic where I can be getting a bunch of people, but it's not really converting into people. So I want to get a firm handle on that. Same stuff we talked about last week. I just haven't made any progress on it. And then tune the levers of like, okay, how much am I charging and what am I charging for, and how can I maximize this conversion rate? Like that, it feels like it's a really exciting place right now. So I'm excited to get back to that this next week. I did have a weird thing that happened, which is one of my paying users, who was a legacy user who I brought onto the new serverless thing, sent me an email one day that was like, hey, it's down. And I was like, oh no. And he said none of his people could access it and it was down, and I still don't know what happened. I think it had to do with having 1,000 people a day visiting it. I think something in this serverless setup with Firebase got over quota, and there's a bunch of things I can do about that. It's a little concerning that like the whole reason I'm switching to Firebase is to make sure that this sort of thing never happens. And I don't even know what happened. I don't know if it's because something was over quota. It could have just been that like locally something happened, or it could have been that like, I don't know, someone's ISP flagged FileInbox as a malicious site because someone sent someone else a virus. So yeah, I don't know what happened, but I'd like to fix it. And in the meantime, I found out about this like as I was headed out the door to pack.
Oh, no.
I was talking to Rachel like, all right, just wrapping up. I'm going to be gone for a week. How's everything? And she was like, oh, you have this email that says it's broken. And I was like, oh no. So I'd like to figure that out. But in the meantime, I've turned off the Google ads, and I was expecting traffic to go to 0. And traffic went from about 1,000 users a day to 150 users a day. And that's much higher than I would have thought. And that kind of makes sense because you're sending files. So there's going to be people who are like visiting it to receive the file. But that feels really good that there's stickiness to this. Like after I have paid for a user, even like I'm not collecting any user data, I'm not emailing anyone. Right. Seems like some people are just remembering to go to FileInbox even if it's not the thing that they're searching for. So that feels good. That's it. Cool. That's the state of FileInbox.
Is it still at that level now? Like even after RailsSaaS?
Yeah, about 150 a day.
Cool.
It's kind of tapering off, but it's only been a couple of days, so it's difficult to get data on that.
Yeah. I mean, if you find something that a lot of people need and it's free, then a lot of people will probably use it. Reminded when this was when like screen sharing was just sort of coming out as a thing, like 2010 or 12 or something like that. And there was a service called join.me. I don't know if they still exist, but it was free because they were burning through venture capital like the first year or something. And we used it, like without bookmarking it, we used it every day for like a year. But then they started charging money, and then we stopped using it completely. Because I think like Zoom was a thing then or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, people will remember sites that are free and useful. So
yeah, that's the plight of freemium. Yeah. I think that's how FileInbox initially got a bunch of traction. Is like it got shared and for being this free tool that you could use to receive files. So, and I feel like I still haven't found the right balance of like paid to free, and I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, even if people like bookmark it, or I mean, like I guess post links to it places, like that's SEO traffic, so that'll pay for a lot of free files being sent. But yeah, it's really hard to attribute that to any one particular thing. So it's tricky.
I'm excited to push that forward. There's a lot of I think this week is going to be mostly bug fixes, and on the technical days it's going to be bug fixes and like cleaning up the data. So I only want to be keeping files that are sent on free accounts for a certain number of days. I don't know, maybe like 7 days or something, and make sure that all the honey badger errors that are getting reported get fixed. So, and then during the marketing days, I think marketing days are going to be more fun actually, because it's going to be like tuning stuff and like getting more analytics, and look at me, I'm having fun marketing. What a measure of success in doing work. It feels good.
Cool.
Cool. Last thing, this is going to be a shorter episode. Last thing,
I was gonna say
Clips.marketing.
I had almost nothing because I'm getting ready. I didn't even talk about this. I'm stringing pearls. That's the thing I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing all the random tasks around the house that I haven't done for a while in preparation for this.
Stringing pearls. You've been telling me about it. It's surprisingly technical. Like you need a certain diameter of string in proportion to the hole in the pearl and tying knots in between them. Like it looks like fun.
Yeah. But as some background, as a tangent, so my wife has this pearl necklace from her grandma, who, but they're not real pearls. It's like costume jewelry. They're plastic or ceramic or something. But it has sentimental value. She remembers her grandmother wearing it, and she's passed on now, and so she has it, and the string broke, and so she had to get restrung. Well, she took it to a place who they charge the same price, whether it's regular pearls or fake pearls, like everyone does. It's the same amount of work. And so it'd be like $120 to restring this, like $2 necklace or whatever. So, so we just bought there's like special string. And then I have these little tiny tweezers from, I think I've plugged this before, actually. iFixit has an amazing set of tiny screwdrivers, tweezers, and stuff. So it's for fixing like iPhones and stuff. But if you ever need tiny screwdrivers and tweezers, iFixit has a great set for like $15 or something.
Noted.
Anyway, so I'm using the iFixit tweezers to restring pearls.
Cool. And you picked up a new hobby in the process. Now you can make pearl necklaces. Do you know when they make pearls, are they finding pearls that are perfectly round, or do they polish them into roundness? How does that work?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd like to know that. Make my own pearl necklace.
The reason why it's hard, by the way, it's not just putting them on the string. You have to tie a knot in between each one. That's why it's difficult. You have to tie a knot that's in exactly the right spot. I guess it's to separate them a little, and also if it breaks, they don't all just fall off the necklace because they're all in knots. So I think
like
those
in the
two
Batman movies when they show Bruce Wayne's parents getting shot, and the pearl necklace on Martha Wayne's neck is always a major, and it gets broken, and then the pearls all fall to the ground. That wouldn't actually happen.
That wouldn't happen because that's not how you string pearls.
Yes. Maybe she had a very cheap pearl necklace.
Yeah,
but I forgot to tie the knots. Being in Los Angeles, I interacted with a bunch of people who are in the film industry. Some of friends that I met up with there, and I can put myself easily in the mental state of someone who's on set, who's responsible for the prop of the pearl necklace, who's the director has said okay, and then we need them to break and fall down just like this, and they're there getting pearl necklaces, practicing, and they're like, what the heck is this? It doesn't, the pearls don't go everywhere. And then they've got to custom make a necklace that the pearls are going to go in. I'm sure there are people who have worked on every Batman movie that has this effect that have also realized that pearl necklaces have knots in between them. It's funny.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's also what I've been doing this week. Yeah.
Cool. All right, my last thing is clips.marketing. I have gotten a lot more excited about this. My excitement about this has grown, especially being at the RailsConf, or the RailsSaaS conference, and talking with people about it. In talking about FileInbox, I found myself going to the same sorts of places that I've gone before, of having difficulty knowing who my customer is, and not quite having marketing underneath me, and not quite sure what to charge, and struggling with more of a horizontal marketplace. And in clips.marketing, I know exactly who the customer is, and I like them. I would love to go to a YouTuber conference or a creator conference not Brennan Dunn, Craft and Commerce by ConvertKit.
Nathan Barry.
Yeah. Nathan Barry, yes, thank you. Nathan Barry's conference. And that's the sort of person who I think would be using this. And then, I would enjoy being there as a creator. I think that would be fun. And also, everyone I talk to who asks what I do, I'm like, well, I have this podcast, and also I build this tool to make clips better. That would be fun. I would really enjoy that. The sort of person who's a YouTuber is very interesting to me. Being able to say that I did a project for Ali Abdall, that's really cool. He's a cool person who's doing cool stuff. And it's the celebrity of today. And I enjoy the community of that sort of content producer. And also, it fixes a lot of the problems for FileInbox of not knowing who my market is or how to find them. In the course of making this project, I'm dealing with a database of thousands of people who are in the target demographic of this thing. I can't use that directly because I signed a contract that said I'm not going to use this data for anything other than the purposes of this contract. But I'm still in the communities of all these people. I know how to get in contact with them. So yeah, I'm liking clips.marketing. So I found myself, during a really technical Rails talk, just like doodling marketing plans and like interfaces and how to make a really, really good clipping interface, and like doing research in other video editors and how to be doing this. And I've come up with a thing I'm really excited about that is going to be just a page that you land on, and you import a video, either dragging and dropping it or pasting in a YouTube link. And then it drops you immediately. So no logins. There's been as little friction as possible. It loads up this clipping interface where you clip the video by just highlighting the text of that video, the text of the part that you want to do. And then from that, you have a clip, and then you can format the clip. And I have a minimal interface of like how to pick which format of clip to go in. And then I think the game is like the same sort of thing I'm doing with this file sending. I have this free limited product where you can use it right away. And then I sell you on things you might want to do next to customize the video or to auto-publish it that you need an account for, that you can start a free trial for. And if not, that's fine. You can get a functional thing out of this. You can render a video. It's just going to have a watermark of clips.marketing, and then sell it. And I think you had a really good idea last week of like buy a Google ad for the landing page right now. So I think that's top on my list of things I want to do tomorrow for marketing day.
Cool. The other thing is, you keep calling it, or you keep saying clips.marketing, and you keep just talking about the clipping feature, but I use it for our podcast just for the timestamps every single week.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it for that. I mean, like as a free product for sure, probably as a paid product, but like that might be your free sort of freemium is just timestamping is free, and then the clips are watermarked. And then pay to remove the watermark or whatever. So I would think that timestamping is a higher priority too. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, timestamping would be a really good thing to be advertising. And then once I have your video and I have you in the interface where you're timestamping it, now I can be selling you on, I bet you sure would like to clip this, and let me sell you on clipping it. Man, I'm also excited about like the educational content for this, of like, how to make clips and how to syndicate it, and how to choose which social media channels to do. Like, it just feels, and I don't know, I'm so frustrated with myself because like I was in this exact same place about a year ago, like really excited about this project, and I had all these same sorts of realizations. And then after going to MicroConf Europe, I just sort of lost focus and started working on other stuff, and I don't remember what happened or why I did that. I think I got sick at one point, and I wasn't able to work as much because I was in Europe, and I don't know. So I'm still going to be focused on FileInbox. I'm still going to be pushing this forward, but I'm going to replace all the time I was spending working on this consulting project with working on clips.marketing, and do the same cadence of like marketing days and technical days. And I'm excited to see what happens.
Cool. You should also, I have a YouTube recommendation for you. Not to waste more of your time. Hold on. His name is Joe Scott. Is that his name?
Those are two first names.
Okay. So Joe Scott. Yes, it is. Joe Scott TMI. So it's his second YouTube channel. Yes. And his latest video, let me make sure. Yes, I posted shorts for 30 days. Here's what's happened. So he talks extensively about he clipped out, or he had someone clip out clips from his video to post to TikTok, and then he reposted those to YouTube. Spoiler alert, he found the ones that he recorded specifically for TikTok did way better than the clips. But you can ignore that a little bit and just pay attention to the clip stuff if you want. But yeah, anyway, so that's someone who I just watched who is an experienced YouTuber who had experience with clipping. So that might be interesting for you.
I'm excited to watch it. That's very relevant. And that's an interesting point, that if you make short form content optimized for short form content, it's going to perform better than if you're clipping from a bigger video.
Yeah. But it takes a lot more work.
For sure. Yeah. I think the primary purpose of clips.marketing, and I might change the name after I do some SEO research.
Sure. I would make it a .com, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'd like to look for a .com.
Yeah.
I'm on a tangent. I'm going to look at like search data for people who are high intent, looking for this sort of thing, and then I want to rename it something that they're searching for. But I think the purpose of clips.marketing is like primarily to more effectively leverage the long form content that you're already making, So you're like minimizing effort and maximizing the output. So like, of course, you're going to perform better if you have like a dedicated team of people who are clipping this and like, you know, making cool transitions and making the clip as cool as possible. But this is going to get you 80% of the way there for like 10% of the effort.
Yeah.
And then because I'm also sort of making this a thing like Buffer, well, I don't know. You will grow out of this tool. You'll you know, once you have a person who you're hiring to do this, you probably don't need this tool anymore. I think this is for like you know, solo creators or people on a really small team who want to just get like a boost in benefit with a small investment in time.
Yeah. Although I think whoever you hire, the person you hire, could use clips.marketing to do the work too. Like, so.
Yeah. So intermediate steps in growing your team might look like you can hire someone who's more of a general person, who's someone like Rachel, who's just an assistant generally, who doesn't know how to do video editing. And that person can still be making clips for you.
Right.
I think creators have grown out of this tool once either they have the bandwidth to be making purpose-built short-form content, but even then they could sort of still be using this in the meantime to queue up clips and keep that system the same. Or once they have a dedicated editor that can make the clips. But even then, like, you know, if the editor has other stuff to edit, like this might not be the lowest hanging fruit.
And I think, like he was talking about TikTok specifically, but I think for Twitter clips and maybe even Facebook clips, although I'm not on Facebook very much anymore, so I don't know, but especially like Twitter clips, like this is perfect for that anyway, because on Twitter, often you want a very chunky nugget that also links to the full podcast or whatever. So yeah, you don't necessarily want dedicated, you know, short form content on Twitter, like you would want on TikTok.
Yeah, I can see that performing much better on Twitter. People seem to have longer attention spans on Twitter, which is a funny thing to say because Twitter is already very, very short attention span.
Right.
Also, oh my gosh, I love the phrase "chunky nugget." I gotta use that.
Chunky nuggets. That's not my phrase. I can't remember what I stole it from, but that's not my phrase.
Maybe I'm just hungry for lunch.
Yeah.
Chunky nuggets. Sounds good. Cool. Is that all I got? Yeah, that's all I got.
That's all I got too.
Then I'll see you next week when you'll be a Googler.
I know.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.